The person for whom I envision these tips is a person who has been in a job a long time, and with the economy being the way it is, that person has lost the job. You can imagine how distressing that could be for someone, and that person might really need some help just thinking about how to get back into the job market. So since we are not talking about someone who goes to work for 30 years, gets to retire, working for the same company, what does that person have to do? The first thing that I would recommend is that the person assess his or her transferable skills. How do you do that? Well, if you examine a job announcement carefully, a position description, if it requires project management or sales, for example, and if you've ever managed a project or sold something in the past, write it down. Then the terminology might be different, but how you went about doing these things is the same. You're looking for what's common in the skills that you use for one job and how can you transfer it to another. One expert says if you've done something similar, write down how it was similar or close to what the employer is looking for. As in Kathy's presentation, you're trying to match the job skills to the position description, your job skills. Many job seekers are under the impression that because they haven't worked in a specific area, they don't have experience, but experience comes from everywhere. It comes from your hobbies, your outside avocation, all sorts of places. I can't help but point out that one of the big financial houses that went bust had a CEO who was an important bridge player. And so he tended to hire bridge players. This brings us to another of my 5 tips. Customize your resume and custom cover letter for each of the jobs for which you apply. Many companies require that applications for positions be submitted online. A computer does the work of winnowing through everything on your resume. Use nouns rather than verbs. I did have a textbook at one point that said use action verbs, but now they're saying use nouns. Computer specialist, sales representative, those kinds of things, because when the computer goes through, that's what they're looking for. I have some other information about avoiding fancy fonts and all of that with online applications, but you'll come to those kinds of things. There is a lot of encouragement these days for people to be retrained. I don't mean just going back to school, although people are going back to school or staying in school. But one of the things that you might consider is that you can get a lot of advancement perhaps from just a small skills upgrade. One of my friends, a PhD in sort of a field that wasn't hiring, learned HTML and became an administrator for a university in a position where she was also the webmaster, and she needed to be able to have that skills enhancement in order to get that really good job. One of the best avenues for new jobs is temporary services. People don't always think of this. Temporary services sometimes just send you in to fill in for somebody like an administrator, but they also supply bodies, workers, to all sorts of interesting jobs, project managers, directors of this or that, and so that's a good avenue. There's a lot of encouragement. My next point, my last point, my 5th point concerns how those workers whose education and training have equipped them for high rank and salary. What do those people do when they have to go back into the job market? Do they apply down? Are they willing to work at lower status? Maybe they're financially independent or not really in need of something to do or not in need of the income, but they can gain a lot of insights by working at a place where they don't have the kind of career stress that people have who are still on their way up. And if the worker that I'm talking about can handle that kind of a situation, applying down in a lower position is often a good option. I think that this person that I've imagined will be able to do all right even in a job market that's as difficult as ours today.